Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. What's up?
Not much.
What's going on today, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Wonderful, as usual?
It's gloomy out today.
Is it? Oh, okay.
What do you mean, is
You know what I did today?
Cloudy and raining.
You know, I was very proud of myself today. I like to give back a little bit. And I'm not saying that.
Oh, boy.
I do.
Oh,
I like to speak.
This could mean a lot of things.
I like
man.
to share experience with younger people. And
All right.
so I went to my daughter's career day at Whitman.
Okay. All right.
This was back, I don't know, a month or two ago. She asked me to be, she asked me to do it, which that's where I felt, wow, like she's going to let
High
her
school kids are terrifying, so I would be terrified going.
Well, that she was like, she wants her dad to do
right.
this. I was like, boy, I'm honored. So I'm like, great. So I did it. And after I gave my little 5-minute spiel of what I do, a girl at the school came up to me and said, I call the games here for baseball and something else.
Oh, okay.
You know, could I talk to you more? And I'm like, of course. And it turned into, would you come to my journalism class for all the people who like sports and talk about what you did? So I did that today.
Oh, wow.
Brought
Okay.
boards with me.
Oh.
Did the whole thing.
So you going to career day was like when? Like a month or two ago or
Something
like
like that.
And then you came back to this. Wow.
See?
Look at you.
I'm available.
Man
I
of
am
the people over
at
here.
your service. I'm at your service.
Wow.
I'm at your service. So I was very proud of
The teacher
myself
wasn't
today.
weird, though? And
Teacher was totally normal.
You've had some weird interactions lately. So.
Some of the teachers are weird. This one was not. This teacher was totally normal.
Cool.
And the kids who were there were actually all specifically into sports.
Got it.
And used their lunch hour to sit there and talk to me. They didn't even do it during class.
Nice.
So we didn't have to bore the other kids that are like, who are the Eagles? You know, like we didn't have to do that. And then I have
Terry
to do
McLaurin?
right. And then I have to go, Travis Kelce, he's got a brother, Taylor Swift. Like, I didn't have to do all of that.
Okay, all right.
So, so we did that today.
God, this is how much sports is permeated into the high school level. Like, I never even really had this in my high school, and there were a lot of kids into sports there. So, wow. Any
Man
good
of the
questions?
people.
Any good questions?
Lots
you want to pass
of good
along?
ones.
Want to pass along? Any good ones? Funny ones?
Well, I met one kid today who wants to be Adam Schefter.
Okay, all right.
And has already started his own blog on the Patriots.
All right.
And went to the combine on his own dime. And his question, this was an amazing question. He goes, when you introduce yourself to players and agents, like, what do you want to tell them about yourself? And I go, well, I never wanted to be and before he even said Adam Schefter, I go, well, I never wanted to be Adam Schefter. So,
right.
And I'm like, I was a reporter for a period of time in my career, and I didn't love the breaking news race.
Right.
I'm like, that's a tough race.
It's a different animal now than it was even 10 years ago.
Yes, it's now you're dealing with social media where everybody's breaking news. So you're in a really difficult space. And I'm like, and that was just kind of like, I didn't mind being a reporter, and I liked having team sources, but the whole currying favor with agents and players thing was never my cup of tea. So I just don't get involved with it. And I as you know, if you listen to the show, I stay out of that. Like, I clearly know more than I let on because I just stay out of it because I don't want to be in that part of it. I don't want to be in part of it. But anyway, it became very clear that he wants to be Schefter. And I just went, Godspeed, sir. Because that's just not my realm. But like, then I did a little peruse of his site, and boy, he's on it.
Oh, all right. There
That's
you
for
go.
a high school kid on the Patriots who's living in Washington. He's on it. Maybe Belichick will move down here. He can have an inside source. Wouldn't that be great? If you move to Annapolis, you get an inside source.
Something tells me Belichick would actually have a soft spot for a Maryland kid for that, too, by the way.
Probably.
He probably
And then
would.
all the other questions were they were good. They were just like, what do you do during lulls in the action? How do you interview someone after you had a bad game? A couple of them were kind of like, I've gone and covered a couple of things, but I can't get a question in because the scrum has two. And I was explaining why you won't.
That's right. Yes.
And I'm like, you're going to have to show up to more things. They have to get to know you, and then you'll kind of earn your way.
That's right.
That's kind of how it works. But there actually was a lot of very good thought through questions.
Look at that.
Look at me. See?
Man of the people over here.
Man of the people.
Not just father of the year, mentor of the year.
Mentor of the year. I like giving out my experience. I like sharing my experience. I've been very lucky to have the career that I have, so I like giving my experience.
I will say this: your daughter hasn't really taken on to sports like Archer has, but did this like turn at all? Is she getting into more into sports?
She loves Caps. One of her best friends plays hockey for the high school with the boys. Like she's good.
Okay.
She's pretty good. I mean, pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if their team is that good, but but she's pretty good. So I've actually gone to see her play with my daughter.
Okay, there you go.
So she's into hockey. So she likes the Caps. So like if I turn the Caps on, she'll watch Caps with me.
Got it.
And knows what's going on. Like she'll know the players and likes the Caps. With the Commanders, she's turned to the point where she just realizes it's just so constantly in our house that it's like impossible to ignore.
Can't get away from it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like anytime anybody comes over to our house, invariably they ask me Commanders questions.
Sure.
With that, not that I'm bothered by it, but they're like, now it's who are we going to pick? What do you think of Dan Quinn? Like that's like the typical questions, all of that stuff. So, but she actually last year wanted to go to a game. And so that was a turn for her because she never really expressed much interest in that part. She has asked me a couple of times, will we be better than we were a year ago? So
Valid question.
Yeah, and I said, God, I hope so. I said, I can't promise you anything, but like, God, I hope so. Meantime, we should ask Ron that. He's on TV today.
That's right.
Will the Commanders be better than they were a year ago?
Ron. Number 2.
I saw a couple jokes
Marvin
on Twitter
Harrison.
about that. Yeah. Ron's on TV today.
Yeah, he's on Sports.
I haven't heard what he said, but he was up at ESPN, I guess, doing the car wash and probably doing a little run through as a potential, job on TV for a year where he would be an analyst.
Well, he's,
he did it before, a long time ago.
He does love the national media.
He does. And he's dabbled with the idea of it. I think he was sincerely trying to get back into a coaching gig this year. I guess those just didn't pan out for him. He interviewed with the Eagles, he interviewed with the Cowboys to be the defensive coordinator. And they did go with old salts who've been around for a long time. So like obviously he was right up their alley. And I think I would have been a good hiring for either one of them if just being the coach, especially on that side of the ball. But I guess they went a different direction, so now he's dabbling with media. So I'll wait for reviews of how Ron did on TV before I cast any judgments on it. I haven't seen anything of what he said or what he did.
I'm going to guess, like everyone else in this world, he probably was looking at coordinator gigs, and then I'm sure he looked at what like the low end of doing TV now is in terms of the money. He was probably like, maybe I'll want to do that instead of being in an office for 18 hours a day or whatever that schedule looks like.
Maybe. Maybe.
He's getting older, too.
Do they pay the I don't know what they pay those guys.
There's probably a floor,
Belichick's going to get a ton of money from somebody, but like, is Ron going to get paid a hefty analyst price? Probably not.
You've read that with Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Bill, right? Yeah.
Well, they're all going after him. Him and Kelsey now. Well, they're going to be the two hits for TV. Like somebody's going to go get them.
They're pitching a Manning cast with Belichick and Saban.
Which I think I called that the second they both retired. I went, they ought to get a show and put them together.
I would pay for that. like certain games, I would pay $5 or $10 just to watch that.
It'd be amazing if they actually do their thing and, give their true opinions in real time.
Well, they're both out of the game, so I think they would give their opinions.
Well, I think Saban doesn't care because I actually believe he's not going back. Like,
that's
Belichick,
true.
I think, will be coaching next year.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, I believe that will happen. Saban, I don't think is. I actually believe him. I think he's just like throwing his hands up, because he's not going to the NFL now.
Right.
And I think he got out of it because he just doesn't like the college landscape. So why would he want to? And he's in his 70s, and what, is he going to start over somewhere else? Like, he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, right.
And recruit people 365? No, thank you.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, no, thank you. The news today is Zach Ertz is the first signing, right? It's the first signing.
1 year, $5 million.
Yeah, it was the first signing of Adam Peters. We've had our first cuts, first releases. Nick Gates, Logan Thomas, Charles Leno. We had our first signing. I said this last week, like, who's replacing Logan Thomas? It's not on the roster. So here it is. 1 year, $5 million. It's a low risk play. Ertz obviously played in Arizona at the end of his career, so knows Kingsbury. Killed us as an Eagle for years and years and years.
Right.
What does he have left in the tank? I don't know. He's had a lot of injuries the last couple of years. The number suggests he won't play 17 games. But he's a good veteran in the room. He's going to know the offense that they're running. And let's see what that means for Cole Turner, Armani Rogers, John Bates. I think Bates is safe. I don't know why he wouldn't be. The question is for the other two. Or do they go draft Ertz's replacement as a second, third, fourth round pick, which there's a lot of them. And then you, as a rookie, work under him and may have to play a little bit because Ertz is not the player that typically plays 17 games any longer.
Yep.
So this falls into the category of what is typical of a new regime coming in. Bring in some guys you're familiar with. Ertz, they're familiar with. They have a hole. He doesn't cost very much. It's a 1 year deal. Great.
Yeah, this is the typical. I think it's because Ertz is more of a name, so he generates a little more interest. But this is the equivalent to Byron Pringle, as far as I'm concerned. He's probably going to play a little bit more.
He knows the offense.
But he knows the offense. He's going to bring everyone along, including the tight ends, help out the whoever the quarterback is. We don't know who that is. And this, to me, if his name wasn't Zach Ertz, we wouldn't even really be talking about it, I think. This would just be, former player from the Cardinals. He knows what Cliff Kingsbury's doing, and that's all we would say. But because it's Ertz, of course, everyone has to weigh in on everything.
I mean, I have to look it up, but I mean, I don't think he's played very much the last couple of years. He missed a lot of time.
Yeah, let me look it up for
Remember what was in the offseason? He got Arizona to release him to go to a playoff team, and then he didn't play.
That's right.
Remember, they didn't even put him up on the roster. So he's been hurt a lot. And, yeah, he's a big name. But they're bringing him in to be coach on the field for that room. That's all it is.
He only played in 7 games this season. And the season before was also only 7 games. So, yeah.
So, again,
he's a veteran.
Limited expectations. You're bringing someone in. It's not a big deal. 5 years, $1 million. I mean, like, if you do the cost analysis, they saved $7 million on the cap by cutting Logan Thomas. They paid $5 million to get his replacement. His replacement isn't going to play 17 games, but it's going to be a coach on the field for Kingsbury.
Right, exactly.
Someone who knows his offense. And I would still think that, that there should be a priority to draft a tight end, a receiving tight end in the mold of Zach Ertz. And hopefully that person does get drafted and in year 2 becomes the starter.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Like that's the idea here, right? That's the idea here. So, so for signing one, do we denote this big moment? Zach Ertz, first signing of the Adam Peters era, because that's what this is, the first signing they've made.
Didn't they do like the futures contract guys though? The guys that were like minor. I mean,
I don't count that.
Yeah, okay, fine.
First free agent
roster signing.
Yes,
by them.
First major signing under Adam Peters, old salt veteran Zach Ertz, and he owes us one. He better score a touchdown against the Eagles. He really, because he killed us for years. I got to go look up his numbers from when he was in Philadelphia in his prime. He and Wentz killed us for like a few straight years, just absolutely killed us.
That week 1 Cardinals, do you want to know what his stat line was? It's a little ridiculous for a tight end. He had 6 receptions for 21 yards.
6 for 21? Was that against us?
That's against us, yeah, week 1.
I remember him.
Yeah, because there were 3.5 yards a catch, apparently.
Well, it was Josh Dobbs had been there a week.
Yeah, right.
They almost won.
Yeah,
that game feels like 8 years ago.
20-16, guys.
All I remember about that game was everybody showed up. We expected a parade. And I thought because of all the energy in and around it all, and because the Cardinals are projected to be bad, that we were going to win big. Like, we were just going to, like, there was almost no way around it. They brought in a quarterback who hadn't been there the whole summer. I'm like, We're going to kill these guys. And we were doing the bus bit for weeks. You take the bus, doing that for weeks. We almost lost. That should have been the sign, really. That probably should have been the sign.
It was week 1, and I was tweeting out same team, new owner. That's how bad that game went.
All right, so listen, I think this is proper veteran signing, fills a hole. It does, again, I agree with you. It's a big name, and people are going to hear that and think, oh my God, he hasn't been that player in a few years. But, if they get 6 to 10 games out of him, and he coaches up whoever the rookie tight end is that's going to replace him in a year, great.
Right.
And that's all it is.
Fine with it, yep.
Yeah. Let's see. The Athletic did a very long film breakdown piece on the presumption that Caleb Williams will go number 1. And that means we're at the pivot point of the draft. Do the Commanders take Jaden Daniels or Drake May? Now, I know others, and we did this the other day and fell down the rabbit hole of what if Cousins. I'm still, now that I've come out of that fog and don't believe that that's actually happening, because I still cannot, for the life of me, understand why they would spend $50 million for probably a 3-year guaranteed deal. Like,
right.
It would, honestly, it would be one thing if he was going to sign a 1-year deal. I would actually hear it out, but like clearly he's not going to do that. So it means you do have to commit to him. So while we have these preposterous ideas that he's going to sign here and then Minnesota's going to trade us Justin Jefferson to get the number 2 overall pick, which sounds all nuts and crazy, I've now woken up out of the fog going, I do think he's just using us as leverage. And I really don't think that we could seriously be considering signing him, because it would be a 3-year commitment for a guy in his mid-30s on a team that has a lot of holes. And I really don't see it. And I don't understand it. And I don't think that that's the first move that Adam Peters is going to make.
Right.
That's the move he's going to make when
Don't
he
think
shows
so.
up.
Yeah, don't think so.
Even if you could argue it might be the right thing to do, I don't buy it. I don't think the roster's ready for that, and I think it tamps down a lot of the excitement that's in and around the team. And I would hear out if he was going to do a 1-year guaranteed money deal and we draft somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally hear that out, but why would he do that?
Right.
He's not going to do that. He's going to get 3 years at $150 million. The vast majority of it probably guaranteed, which means he's the starter in Atlanta,
right.
or Minnesota,
or
maybe Pittsburgh, I guess, or maybe the Raiders, I guess, or maybe someone we're not thinking of. But I don't think it's here, so I'm going to get out of that. So let's go back to what the most likely scenario is here. We have a choice: Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Will the J.J. McCarthy dynamic change that? Maybe. Mm-hmm. Will public pressure from the fan base going, don't take him, take Daniels, take part in that? Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Sure.
Right? Maybe.
Right.
But so they wrote this long piece, and they came to, and I won't read the whole thing, but they go through their full film study with their scouts, showing both and what they think they're great at, what they think they could grow at, what they think they're not good at. And I'll just read you the conclusion part of it, of what they wrote. And I kind of landed in the same spot, which is why I wanted to read this on the air. Daniel's gaudy statistics and eye-popping athletic ability are tantalizing, but he had the benefit of playing in one of the nation's most talented offenses. It's true.
Sure.
His top receiver will be a top 10 pick. I think this should be pointed out about Penix, too. I think Penix had an outstanding year. I saw him live. I thought he should have won the Heisman Trophy, frankly, the year that he had. That receiver that he has might be the best receiver.
Right.
Or he might be on par with Marvin Harrison, if you're being real about it. He had a crazy great receiver up there. Anyway, they go on to say this. Daniels still has a long way to go when it comes to speeding up his process and consistently attacking the middle of the field. His rare abilities are his athleticism and accuracy, which will give him a substantial floor to work with, but it'll take time for him to develop the anticipation and timing that he'll need to be a plus passer. Additionally, his arm is just better than average, which makes his margin for error smaller. May attacks the middle of the field with anticipation and aggressively hunts for deep opportunities. That's going to be something Kingsbury loves. Mm-hmm. Okay, that even Quinn said that too. We want somebody who's going to take the ball down the field a lot.
Right.
Ultimately, May's rare traits are more reminiscent of the passers we've seen reach the modern pinnacle of the position. His creativity in the pocket and the way he manipulates defenses is hard to teach, and it's reminiscent of Josh Allen or C.J. Stroud. He needs to clean up his footwork, but that's a relatively easy fix compared to other flaws. I disagree with that part, but I'll hear them out on it. May need a year to hone his fundamentals and experiment to understand what he can get away with in the league. But in my opinion, he has the skill set to take off as soon as his second season in the league. And after studying both quarterbacks closely, May might be closer to challenging Williams than he is to Daniels as a prospect. So their conclusion is it's clear to them you take Drake May.
Yep.
I'm not there yet.
Neither am I.
I'm not there yet. I agree. I do also I've seen this with him, with watching with him. I do like that he's willing to take the shots down the field when he thinks they are there. Daniels, I also agree, and we talked about this before. Sometimes when you have superior talent, it looks easier than it really is. And in his case, with his athleticism and the receivers that he had, some of it did look silly easy.
Right.
And you need to take that into account here when you're looking at the competition, which is why I always go back to with him. Show me the tape against Alabama. Show me the tape against Georgia.
Yep.
Show me the tape against Ole Miss, the good teams last year, because I don't want to see these early season crazy run plays and throws down the field when Neighbors is streaking past some guy who shouldn't be on the field with him.
Yeah,
right. That doesn't mean much to me. May bothers me because late in the season, he lost games to inferior opponents, especially after he got that receiver back, Tez Walker back. That actually bothered me that started happening with him. But I agree that and I think what they've come down to is May looks like a prototypical passer with big arm and size.
Yep.
And Daniels looks like he might be Fields or better. And so our conclusion is, go with the guy that we know has won a lot.
Right.
That style of quarterback.
Well,
and It's hard to argue with it a little bit, other than I would just say the modern NFL does involve more mobility than the past, and the off-schedule stuff really matters. And it's not that he's not athletic. He's not a statue. Like, he's not at all. Mm-hmm. But he's not the other guy. And that's why the other guy, and I like the word they use, tantalizing, because he is a cat when he gets out. Like, he's not just a good runner. He could be a Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson runner.
Yeah.
That's the thing with him.
I think what's happened now, I've kind of gone with this conclusion, especially over the past week, because the discourse is not only with May, but it's also with J.J. McCarthy now, too. Like, McCarthy now there's arguments now about McCarthy in May, about him possibly getting into like the top 3, essentially, right? But I think what's happening now,
they're all looking at him as the prototypical NFL passer. Right. He's showing off a little bit of athleticism, but more the accuracy, and what their all love is. And this is what Harbaugh hinted at with him. He said if you give him the chance and you see him in your pro-style offense, you'll see how good he is. And it seems that the scouting community has come around to believing that about him.
So I think what's happening here, and I think it's because it's the NFL and quarterback is so massive now, I think we have 2 schools of thought now. Not only are we ranking quarterbacks now, we're ranking the 2 different categories of quarterbacks now. And that's why I think May and McCarthy now, they're garnering all this attention of teams possibly trading up, because they're going, well, we don't think of them as the 3rd and 4th best quarterback. We think of them as the 1 and 2, quote unquote, prototypical quarterbacks now. Like, we are so deep in the weeds now with the NFL quarterbacks that we have splintered into 2 schools of thought here of the mobile off-schedule type guy versus the prototypical type guy. And there are all the teams wanting to trade up for one, both, or either one now at this point.
So, here's what's really interesting too, okay? And I've been thinking a lot about this. So, like, I do believe where you go and what the organization looks like and who's coaching you matters here, right? Like, that's a big part of this whole thing.
Right.
And in the case of someone like Jaden Daniels, okay, he's now not unique anymore, right? We've seen Justin Fields, Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson. Sure. There are others, not many that are of this level, but Cam Newton. It's a good example of this, okay? Of like really good quarterbacks with a crazy ability to run to go along with it. Who's coaching these guys? Right? We have a long line of offensive coordinators that know how to coach up or can at least implement a system that works for the Drake Mays of the world.
Yep, exactly. Right.
But they don't for these guys. And it matters where they go. As it turns out, Greg Roman was a really good coach for Lamar Jackson at the time. And other people in Baltimore don't want to believe that. But they actually utilized his skill set as he grew into becoming a better passer. And now he has matured into a place where they could go into a more traditional offense where he throws the ball more than he runs. And that's what it's matured into. Fields, and this is why I still think there's a high ceiling for him, but it has to be the right place. He wasn't coached that way in Chicago. They didn't take advantage of his best asset until it was too late in a season. And at this point, I would describe it as they haven't figured out a way to help himself learn how to be a better passer while taking advantage of the athletic gifts that he has.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels needs to have a new school because we are in phase 2 of this. Michael Vick's been around a long time. Cam Newton been around a long time. Lamar Jackson been around a long time. Why don't we have the specialist offensive coordinators who know how to deal with an athlete like this that can actually build an offense that works for them from start to finish instead of trying to fit them into these older offenses? And that's where Kingsbury is intriguing here because I can't figure out which one he is.
Right, exactly.
He's worked.
We don't have an answer.
He's worked with Kyler Murray. He's worked with Caleb Williams. And if you listen to him, you'll hear this idea that Drake May is actually the one that would fit for him in his offense, more of a passer than a run-first player. And I'm not sure which way we're going here. But, like, to me, there is a flaw, and that is if Cam Newton was a good coach, Cam Newton would be the perfect person to deal with the future Jaden Daniels of the world to go through their experience, understand how to build an offense that would utilize their skill set as they mature into a full-blown passing quarterback.
Right.
But we don't have that right now. This is why I feel for Fields, actually. I think he was a victim of a place that didn't know how to deal with him. Mm-hmm. They changed their coordinator 3 times. The coordinators that were in the last couple of years, clearly, because we played them, tried to make him into something he either isn't or wasn't ready to be,
right.
didn't utilize his skill set to the best of his ability. Baltimore actually handled Jackson really well in hindsight, if you think about it. They used him more as a runner early. As he developed into becoming a better passer, he's now matured into a place where he is a better passer and they can run a more traditional offense than they've had. Fields didn't get that. This is why I think like if he goes somewhere else and gets the right coach in the right place, there's a chance because his talent is so high that it would turn. Daniels needs to go somewhere where they think about his growth and maturity differently than plugging him into whatever age-old offense there is.
Yeah, right.
May is a different story. May can get plugged into these things because he's going to be pass first. Can he run? Sure, but it's not his strength.
Yep, right. Exactly.
So we'll see. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram and Callow, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. What you said, a couple things. Thanks, Ben Raby, for noticing I'm the man of the people. Appreciate that. I am man of the people. I am available to you for any and all ideas of mentorship. I enjoy giving back. I don't have a lot to mentor you on, but if you want my experience in this industry, I am more than willing to do so. As you know, I've been an adjunct professor for a long time. I don't do that for the money. I do it because I just like doing it, and I'm willing to offer my time, and I did so today at my daughter's high school.
When we get our new studio and office built, I'm going to, every time we self-appoint one another some kind of award, I'm going to go get the award. So I'm going to get, like, Man of the People, like a ribbon.
I'd like, if we are going to actually put a camera in the studio, right?
We are. That's still in the plans.
Yeah. Can we just put Man of the People behind me at all times?
That's your Chiron?
Yeah.
Man of the People, Bram Weinstein?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, actually.
Why not?
Then it just rotates.
Now, you said you're getting mentions about French fries and...
So Golick Jr., Mike Golick Jr. is the master of this. He just said, who has the better fry, Chick-fil-A or Arby's curly fries?
So this is a tough one because, anyone who listens to sports radio here has a deep affection for Arby's and Ken talking about Jamocha and curly fries.
Absolutely.
Right. And I can't do the accent like Zabe. Zabe does the accent. I can't do the full Ken.
You do have to realize, like, my generation is lost on them. Like, they didn't see that. Like, I know what it is because I've been in this and I eat, sleep, breathe this city and all of the sports legends here. But, it's lost for everyone younger than me.
It is amazing. There's two things. Like, you never saw the Redskins win. And right. You don't know who Ken Beatrice is.
No, I mean, like I do, but my generation doesn't. Is what I'm getting at here.
Very old.
Like,
yes.
Like the unfortunate one is like if I mention George Michael, they're like the guy from Wham, and it's like, oh no,
wow.
Yeah, like I've had that.
That's fine. I've had a lot of ailments and I'm 51. I've realized that, there will now be memories of eons ago that don't apply to the younger generation now.
Right. This is where the problem is. I have a George Michael sports machine pullover.
That's amazing.
And I have it's like old 90s nylon style and I wore it and someone goes, "Oh, is that a show you work on?" I was like, I didn't know what to say because I was like, no, and it's not. And you know how this is too with people that aren't in our industry. It's just not worth me explaining to you either. I was just like, no, it's an old show, because it's just not. Right. It's not worth me nerding out over. Right. This is the guy. This is the guy of why I'm in sports. Essentially, I can't even.
You can't.
I can't even unpack it. Yeah. So anyway,
he created what was the template for Sports Center, but that's not important right now.
Right. Exactly. So.
All right. So you said Mike Golick Jr. asked.
Yeah.
Curly fries from Arby's or waffle fries from
Chick-fil-A.
And I mean, I'll just tell you.
Yeah.
Not that you're asking. The answer is the Chick-fil-A waffle fries over the and as hard as it is for me to say that, because thanks for all the support through the years, Arby's, but the truth is it is the waffle fries. However, I would say on the scale of best fast food French fries, not number one, in my opinion.
What's your number one?
McDonald's.
Okay, thank you. I see.
McDonald's French fries is the clear-cut, true champion and undefeated.
McDonald's fries to me are LeBron. They're so good, they're boring. You guys are all so used to it.
They should be the MVP every year, but they're not. But
correct.
They are.
Yeah, that's what they are. Right, they're the LeBron of fries.
That's right.
But Golick, put that poll out, and I quote retweeted by saying, Chick-fil-A fries are the most overrated fries in the pantheon of everything.
What do you mean? Like any
just
fast food thing at all?
They're just overrated in terms of the fries rankings. They're not seasoned. There's just salt. You get the weird fries that are the butt end of the potato.
I like that part.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm one of those that like doesn't mind that.
Cool.
I like that.
And then when you get a bad batch of Chick-fil-A fries, they're all-time bad. They're floppy.
I think if you get a bad batch of fries in general, it's bad.
Sure, but even bad McDonald's fries are still.
That's true.
It's like pizza. It's not a terrible.
It's not
look.
terrible.
Like.
I think there's something in their salt. I don't know
I
what
agree
it
with you
is.
on that. No, I agree. You're talking McDonald's salt?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
They have a special salt. That's what it is.
Yes, correct.
They'll never tell anybody, and I can't believe it hasn't gotten out. But where do they source that salt? Because that's what it is.
Right. But yeah, I just think Chick-fil-A, they're not in love with the fries. They're in love with the shape. It's not the actual taste of the fries. You just like that the fry is a vehicle for their million different sauces.
The other one to me that's really, do you count Five Guys in this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then if we're counting Five Guys, they're a number 2 to me behind McDonald's.
Fries.
They're amazing.
Are you talking regular or Cajun or both? I mean,
I like just the regular.
Okay.
I like the regular.
Cajun is a game changer too, though.
But those are that's like going back to the day when I go to Ocean City, go to Thrasher's, Han.
Yes. It's an old school vibe.
And also, they get you every time because you order a small and it's a bag.
The cup is arbitrary. It's the best bit of all time.
It's a bag of them.
It's fantastic.
Like I'll order, 4 after a soccer game, Arch will have a soccer game, and I'll order 1 fry, for all the kids, and like 1, and I'm like, wait, do you see this? And it's a suitcase of them.
That's right.
Right? It's
yes, correct.
So it is a good bit. They get you on that.
Right.
If you order more than 1, you feel stupid actually because it's
correct.
like it is too much.
Like, oh, should we get a large? You get it, and you're like, this is dumb.
That was dumb.
Yeah, stupid.
Yeah, like I stole something.
Right.
They're number 2 to me.
Okay.
And the one that's rising up the ranks is Shake Shack's fries are very good.
Shake Shack's fries are pretty good. I'm not a crinkle guy, though. I'm not a crinkle guy. They're
Neither am I.
Kind of too thick.
That's not my thing either, really. But I appreciate the game there. It's pretty good.
In the discussion of my mention, someone did mention Checkers fries. There just aren't a lot of Checkers
Those
around.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're like
I don't eat a lot of fat. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I very rarely eat any of this anymore.
Me too.
But if my kids end up going to McDonald's or something, which is a rare occurrence, but if they do, I sneak a few of the fries. It's impossible not to.
You have to. It's obligated. It's the tax.
Yeah,
the tax.
Pay the tax, especially when they're hot. It was like pay the tax.
No. Checkers is like a seasoned fry. It's not like a Cajun, but there's a seasoning on it.
Yeah,
that
I don't
makes
need
them
that.
Really good.
I'm old school. I just plain old potato and salt. I'm happy with that. That's all I need.
Can I just say, my vet move for Chick-fil-A has always been a chicken sandwich and nuggets, no fries. That's what I go with every time I go because I think I think it's more worth the calories to just get more chicken than to get the empty calories from the fries.
I'm the idiot who gets the fruit cup. So
what are you doing? If you're going, go for it.
I know.
Come on,
it's like
man.
I know it's like getting the Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like, what are you doing?
Why?
I don't know.
You don't go to Chick-fil-A for that. You go to get the fries or the chicken sandwich.
Actually, often I will just go and just get the sandwich, and that's it.
That's fine. I think that's
because I like the sandwich.
Yeah,
I'll get the sandwich.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Either one, the spicy one or the regular one.
Yeah, either one works.
I would argue that the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich is the best sandwich in fast food. Like the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich is the best.
Goes toe-to-toe with everybody.
Across the board, best sandwich you can get. Again, though, if you are putting this up against Five Guys, because I think it's a different category.
Right.
The Five Guys burger is the best
same thing.
Fast food sandwich, if that counts as a fast food sandwich. It's the best thing.
Same thing. It's a size issue, too. You can just get a normal one, and it's still... whatever they call it, a little one. That's one patty. It's still a fine meal.
You can't do that, though.
Yeah. What?
You can't do it. You have to get the original, which is 2 patties.
No,
you do.
Really?
That's why it tastes good. That's why it tastes good.
Oh, all right.
The double patty.
Wow, I can't believe we're on the different end of here.
Yeah.
The last time I went, I got the little one, and it tasted perfectly fine.
That's the place where I can't not just go for it. I'm not getting the fruit cup. I have to get the fries.
Actually.
Five Guys, I can't go. No offense, I can't go to very often because I have to go the full shebang there. There's no.
You feel it. You feel it in your arteries afterwards. Too.
Correct.
You eat too many of those fries, and you're.
I have to get the full normal burger, and I have to get the fries. I can't. That's why I can't go there very often.
You go for the peanuts beforehand too.
I don't because there's a peanut allergy in my family, so I just stay away from that stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Other times, yes, of course.
Now there is another move here if you're fully going for it. Do you go for the Five Guys milkshake now too?
No, not really.
Okay, all right.
I don't same thing with Shake Shack. I think the milkshake's fine.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's fine.
I agree with you.
So it's not enticing to me.
Okay.
If one of those places did real deal good milkshakes, I think I would probably fall for it. But they're all just fine, weird mix into the machine thing. They're not, this isn't straight out of Dumpster's Dairyland.
I will say Five Guys' genius thing was as many toppings as you want for the milkshake, too. So you can get some really good combinations.
Yeah, I'm out on that. I don't go that far. That's death for me. If I actually go the trifecta of the burger, the fries, and the milkshake,
you're having a day.
I won't be right till 3 days later. My body can't handle it. Very sensitive.
Fair enough.
I want to go back to, I only mentioned this for a moment. Bill Belichick is being chased by Omaha Productions, which is the Peyton Manning company.
Yep.
The belief is they're trying to get him and Saban to do an alt cast.
Right.
I don't know whether for college, for pros, for both. I don't know. Who knows?
Yep.
For whatever. I don't think it is to replace what Peyton and Eli do. But remember, Peyton and Eli don't do every Monday night game.
Sure.
They do some of them.
Yep.
So maybe the Saban Belichick cast would be the alternate when Peyton and Eli aren't doing games.
Okay.
Right?
I could see that happening.
That's a possibility. I still don't understand why Peyton and Eli don't do it every week other than they just don't want to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Those guys aren't broadcasters, so maybe they just don't like the week-to-week preparation,
Don't care.
getting guests. To be fair, too, their guests are so massive. I guess that is hard to pull off for an entire season. I mean, I do give them
That's an interesting part of this. If Belichick and Saban do this, who's doing the interviews of the guests?
I want nobody on that, actually. Like, I just want them.
Just them?
Yeah, I want them. I actually don't want guests. Unless it's someone they think is important to bring into the fold for that game. But, I could be fine with them going, no guests. We're just going to talk about the game amongst ourselves.
I don't know. I mean, what if Bill Parcells shows up to that?
Oh, I would
you
love
want
that.
to hear that?
No, I'm with you. But yeah, of course, I'm with you.
What if Michael Jordan shows up to that? Don't you want to hear them talk to
No,
him?
of course.
I do.
No, of course. But I'm just saying, I don't want it to be okay. I guess what we're getting at here. I guess what I envisioned is you're throwing some of the same guests that are on with Peyton and Eli. They would be on that, and
but
I don't want that.
Peyton is a seasoned television person.
Yeah,
and
right.
can pull off the interview part of it. I don't think either one of them would be able to do it.
I think they would just be shooting the what. I think it would just be really casual.
I want to make Bill Belichick interview somebody because I want to see how he approaches it.
I do.
And then maybe he'd have a newfound respect for him being interviewed because he'd realize it's not that simple.
I think what they'd have to do is have the person in studio. I don't think you could.
That's the one have to have a host.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have a remote for this one. I think they have to all be in the same place.
Yeah.
Peyton and Eli can do the remote thing, but I think you'd have to have Belichick, Saban, and whoever the guests are in the same
I don't mind if
room.
they do it from their basement.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I don't know whose basement they're going to, but
Maybe they switch off. We get to see both.
Oh, that'd be good.
Who's got a better basement?
Oh, I like that, actually.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah, I think you got to do it in person, though, because I think someone on hand, on site.
I do
helps.
want them to do this.
So do I.
I think it's a no-brainer that they should.
The only thing,
Will it be good? That's a good question. I don't actually really know whether if they don't, those two will need a host. Peyton and Eli got away with not having one. Those two will need one to direct them in certain ways.
That's
Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
What's going to be funnier, though, is you see Peyton and Eli, whenever there's a boneheaded play, they throw their hands up and freak out or whatever. I put so much more weight into a Belichick or Saban do that when they're like, "What is this?" You're gonna hear Belichick go, "What are they doing here?"
Yeah.
And you're gonna be like, "Oh God, what's about to happen?"
I would have cut him.
Yeah.
Right. Amazing.
Right. And then let's say they're watching a Dolphins Bills game. Just throwing those two teams out there. But then you see the Dolphins offense line up and Bill just goes, "What the F are they doing?"
Yeah.
Then McDaniels has to be asked about it the next day because they're like, "So Bill didn't like what you did." And then all these coaches are going to decide.
Bill said that Tyreek Hill ran the wrong route on this play.
That's right. Yes. That's going to be fantastic.
Your thoughts?
There's going to have to be a mandate. We're not answering questions about the Saban-Belichick cast.
Right. No questions about what they said. It may or may not be true. Deal with it.
Right. Exactly.
All right, let me take a quick break. Ray Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. Candace Buckner, nobody goes after the Wizards like Candace. She just put out a tweet of a piece that I need to read during the break that I think we'll probably talk about next hour, where she just apparently is going to take a hatchet to the monumental opportunity. And it's off of what we talked about yesterday when I was watching those commercials that are airing during the games. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Some of this stuff is, stop telling me all the shows you're turning down to put down at Cap One because you don't have time to put them in there and they're all going to be there when you move to Virginia. Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure all those great shows aren't going to go to your new arena in Virginia, I'm sure.
It is hard to put into words how excited I get when Candace pulls out, the weapons briefcase. When I see those tweets.
When she's ready to go, she is ready to go.
Like, she got it. I think Torch was, not passed because she's not done, but I think I think there's some Sally Jenkins there where I'm like, oh, there's a column from her with the knives out. Let's go. I can't wait to read it.
I'd like to ask Ted what he thinks of her. There's an insight.
She's praised them, though. She's praised them, though.
Yeah.
When it was Wizards, bro, remember she walked it back in a column a couple weeks later because they were 10-2, and then it fell apart on them. But
then she had to be like, "Well, it was right the first time."
That's right, exactly.
There was a small mirage in the middle of this.
But there's, journalists still, respect the craft and walk it back when they have to, and she's one of them. So yeah, when I saw that headline, I was like, "Oh boy, here we go."
Talk about my other team first. Do it first. The trades have begun in the NHL.
Yes.
This is trade deadline week there.
Good
thing they're doing it this week, not next week, because it would just get buried by the NFL.
That's
This
right.
free agency is going to literally start on Monday because that's the tampering period, but you'll start hearing about deals once you get to the tampering period thing.
Right.
Anyway, the NHL trade deadline's happening now.
Friday,
the Capitals have made two moves, one to retain a player, Rasmus Sandin, on a 5-year deal, and the other to trade Anthony Mantha, who was in the final year of his deal. And I talked about this for the last couple of weeks. I was actually really happy for this guy that he got his career back on track. Like, he's got 20 goals on the season. Mm-hmm. And when they acquired him, they traded him to Vegas, by the way. And when they acquired him for Jake the Snake, right? Jake the Snake, Joe.
And a first.
Jake the Snake, Joe.
It wasn't just Jake. It was a first-round pick, too.
This is one of those, didn't really work out for either one of them, really, because Jake the Snake's not even on the Red Wings anymore. Yeah. And Mantha, obviously, like, when he first showed up here, I remember that first year, I was like, man, this guy's good. And then he felt like unlucky. Like, he looked like he was going to score a goal on every shift, and he would hit a post or he would just miss. It was like crazy.
His first month was really good, and you were like, man, if you could just bury a couple more of those, man, it'd be money.
I was like, this guy looks unstoppable. Yeah. But, like, everything would hit the post or something like that. And I'm like, just stay with it, dude. And then it really crumbled. Yeah. And last year was bad, like really bad. Like, he looked lost, like almost like he shouldn't be out there. And then he basically admitted that by the end of the year. And he said, I need to prove to myself. And he did a very introspective interview and was like, I need to prove to them and prove to myself I belong here. And I plan on doing that. And he did. He's been one of their better players this year. One of the more consistent, better players, second leading scorer on the team. Like, he's had a nice year. He's in the final year of his contract. Obviously, we're not going to re-sign him.
That's right.
So I'm actually like happy for the guy. And they actually got a pretty good return for him. They got like second or fourth round pick for him. So I wish him luck in Vegas. And I like to see this. This is a guy who needed to turn his career around and did.
Yep.
So I'm happy for him, and there was no future here for him. So I'm glad he did that, and they got a return for him.
He's the perfect example that Peter Laviolette didn't know how to deal with some of these struggling players. Laviolette's a little more old school. He clearly just does not. I don't know if he doesn't get the mental aspect or he doesn't think it's as important, because I'm not going to accuse the guy of anything. It's clearly working out great in New York with the Rangers with Laviolette. But Mantha was one of those players you probably needed to. I don't want it to sound negative, but you know what I mean. You probably had to have a little more positive reinforcement on the guy.
I agree.
And still some belief in him. And Carberry has been perfect with this. He's done it with him. He's done it with McMichael. He's done it with all the other young guys, essentially, that he kind of just says, keep whacking at it, man. And, like, even earlier, I think, we're kind of bearing it here. Mantha was a healthy scratch earlier in the year. Even Carberry said, hey, he's got to take a reset here, but we hope he comes out better on the other side. And he did. He's largely been their best forward at 5-on-5. And by the way, the return, I saw some people poo-pooing it a little bit last night. Vladimir Tarasenko got a lesser return than Mantha did for you from going to Ottawa to Florida earlier today. So that means McClellan actually got more for a less established player. I think it was a third and a fourth for Tarasenko, who scores 1 million goals, but defensively is a liability. He got more from Mantha than Tarasenko, and people have heard of Tarasenko, even the casual fans have. So I would say he actually did all right, and by pulling the trigger early, he kind of set his own market for the rentals. So I thought the return was fine.
As for Rasmus Sandin, 5-year deal, about $4+ million on the cap.
Yeah.
I like him. Mm-hmm. I didn't no illusions. I think he could probably produce a little more offense than he does. At least it appears that way to me.
Yeah.
But I like him, and they don't have a lot of defensemen. So this also falls in line with the way they kind of do business. Do you want the deal or not?
Yeah. I texted.
And they offered him the deal, and he took it. Last year, there were a couple of guys that didn't take it, and they were gone. So this is how McClellan does a little bit of his business. Yeah. He doesn't wait till the offseason. He goes, you want it now or not? And if you don't, I'm going to move you.
McClellan essentially is Mr. Burns. Do you want to sign the contract? No. And then he hits the button and you go down the chute and you're being traded to wherever you go.
I don't blame him. It's professional sports. You need to look at it that way.
No, and I give McClellan credit here. He's been consistent with it. And this is the third year in a row that he's done this, where it's basically been, hey, here's our plan moving forward. Are you on board or not? If you're not, cool, we're going to ship you off. If you are, here's the extension of what we're thinking. Yeah. And with Sandin, I didn't think he was in danger of being traded, but this almost like answers the question of maybe he was on the block. And then when McClellan said, here's the extension, he decided to go ahead and do it. When it comes to Sandin, I'm with you. I think they could get a little more out of him. But here's the deal. He's 23, 24 years old. He'll be under 30 by the time this deal is up. The other thing is looking at all of their contracts in 2 seasons after this, so really 3 seasons, 4 of their 6 defensemen are going to be up for contract. Yep. You needed to lock somebody down for the future, just even if he stays in the second or third pairing, essentially, that Sandin, that is. So you'd hope he develops and he can be elevated to that consistent number 2 or number 1 pairing if he ends up developing a little bit more.
Yeah, the only other one that's really on this team right now is Fehervari, who I think they should probably be thinking about, and that's probably next year, right? Like he's got 1 more year, he's under control. They'll probably do this to him next year. Correct. If he looks good, they're going to go take the money or we're going to ship you off. Yeah. And then, so it's Wednesday. We got 2 days left. The first deal's been made, Mantha. I'm waiting for 3 or 4 more. Yeah. Aren't you?
I'm going to guess 2 or 3 of them get thrown in one deal. Seemingly, it seems that here, this has been this play lately. We're not going to give you a first-round pick for 1 player, but let's talk about 2 players, and we'll make that first-round pick happen. I think that's essentially what it's going to be. I foresee Nick Dowd and someone else being paired together to get that first-round pick out of somebody. And I'm sure McClellan's on the phone going, do you want a forward? We could throw in Pacioretty. You want a defenseman? We could throw it Edmondson. You want a goaltender, then we have a real discussion to have there. We want to haul for that, essentially, if you want Charlie Lindgren. So I think he's working the phones here, but I think this is exactly what last night was. You needed one domino to start falling so you know what you're doing. McClellan likes doing this too. Don't discount what he did last year with Sandin. Or was it last year or 2? Yeah, it was last year with Sandin, where he got Boston's first-round pick, turned right around and traded that first-round pick to the Maple Leafs to get Sandin here. They have, I think, 3 second-round picks going into this draft. He's probably going to move a second-round pick or package those together in some way, shape, or form to get somebody back as well. So watch out to see who they could acquire because he hasn't been afraid to do that either. So it'll be interesting on Friday.
All right,
for
so
sure.
Lindgren probably you'd think if the right deal comes along.
I think they have to be blown away by him. I think they're freaked out by handing it over to Stevenson right away for him to come up and be on the roster. And I also... Lindgren doesn't cost you a lot, and you could trade him next year too. Like you could trade him, you can even trade him in the offseason, honestly. So I don't think they're in a rush to do that. But honestly, some team could get desperate.
Oh man, here's the issue though. Like after they make some trades, the team is going to, presumably not be great the rest of the year, and whatever they may hang in there, but probably won't make the playoffs. What if he doesn't look that good down the stretch?
No,
and then all of a sudden the value starts to look a little bit different. So I would move him now,
I agree.
Personally.
100%. Not only that,
especially if you're going to get a deal for him, yes.
And
I would.
Not to mention, Sunday was bad against the Coyotes. I'm not saying the defense was great in front of them, but that was a bad, he gave up 5 to a terrible team.
And it could have been 9.
Yeah, right.
They had 4 posts.
Right, exactly. So I think if you're the Caps, I would start moving him now. And honestly, if you're a contender, this always happens. A hot goaltender can get you a round or 2, no matter what's going on in front of them. If I'm I keep throwing out Edmonton. If I'm Edmonton, I'm going for it. Go get Lindgren and try to make a run with him for a year or 2. And not only that, he's so cheap. You can still go sign a goalie next year if there's a good one on the free agency market. So I hope Lindgren gets moved. All the other guys are going to. They're all spare parts. They're going to start bringing up some young guys to fill in here. He already mentioned he wanted to get the young Russian kid, Miroshnichenko, into a game. That's probably going to happen tomorrow because guess what's going to happen? They're not going to play Dowd or Edmondson or Pacioretty. They're not going to play a lot of those guys because the deadline's coming in on Friday. So we'll see.
All right, take a quick break. We'll see what Candace has to say about Ted next. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. It's so weird, not being part of the organization that's got the odor that's the punching bag because it's changed.
Correct. Well, yeah, I mean, there's reason for it, too. I mean, it's not like it's nothing. It's not like the Caps are just bad and people are going, F you, Ted.
Yeah.
You know, there's a major move being made or attempting to be made.
And you and I both are in full agreement here that they're not messaging very well with this.
Correct.
And that really, actually, I think is the biggest problem.
100%.
And then yesterday, I made fun. I can't believe Candace. Did you listen to the show, Candace?
I know. It's like, does Candace listen? I mean,
Candace,
or she's noticing the same thing.
Candace called me Brum on the air multiple times, which is why I haven't had her back, because she didn't say my name correctly.
I didn't think you were going to bring that up.
But it's just a little too coincidental that yesterday I'm like, I was watching that game and I saw those ads and I went through all the things that they said and I'm like, God, that is just, come on, man. Like, you guys got to be kidding me with this stuff.
So I don't know how frequently they run during Caps games. Because I'm obviously producing the game. So I look up every once in a while and I see them every once in a while. I'm going to guess the uptick, though, has happened for Wizards broadcasts. Like, if you noticed it to a point and she noticed it
every
to
break.
A point. Yeah, so.
It was every break. And also, I would just probably say this, to your point here, the inventory might not be being sold for the Wizards broadcast, which is
comparatively,
potentially.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know, but they got a lot of commercial space that seems to be filled with this monumental opportunity ad, which she just completely kneecaps. Okay. Like yesterday, I was just like, and I want to say this again. I am not against him doing this as much as many others are. I see the ethical issue with it by taking the teams out of Washington, D.C. I understand why he wants to do it. I understand why he's taking a deal that's being put in front of him, as I understand it.
Yeah.
How could he turn that down with the land and the money and all that stuff? But I'm with you here. Like, what you're not doing is messaging this correctly.
Correct.
And those ads were, I was like spit take laughing, listening to these ads that they aired, calling this the monumental opportunity, with Zach explaining to me how many more shows we're going to get downtown because we have to we're hanging up on people because we can't take their calls. We're so full. It's a line out the door for entertainment that wants to come in here.
Outside of Taylor Swift at FedEx Field, have you heard of any tour skipping this area?
No. And then that would have nothing to do with that arena anyway.
Correct. No, that's what I'm getting at. Like,
that only goes to stadiums. So like that.
Now, granted, I follow music close enough that there are some shows that in general sometimes don't come here, but sometimes they are in Baltimore. Other times they skip both Baltimore and D.C., which tells me it's just a scheduling thing in general. But I'm just saying, I've never seen a show that goes, oh, wow, Olivia Rodrigo isn't coming into D.C.? What's up with that? Like,
right.
There's no red flags
what are you talking
that tell
about?
me that same
and
story.
I'm going to go with Olivia Rodrigo goes to the new Alexandria Arena,
That's right.
not Capital One.
Correct. Exactly.
So, and then even the other things in the ads, and she goes through this too, but, some of the things they say, like, we hope we can get 10,000 Mystics fans to the arena.
Right.
That's half the stadium.
That's right. Right. And
like, I hope you're right. And they sell out, and the sellout there is about 4,300.
Yep.
So, okay.
Tell me
maybe
that
they'll sell more than that. Great. That's great.
Yeah, tell me that it's double. There's messaging there that you should be saying.
We think we could double the attendance. But when you say 10,000, I go, yeah, but that's half the arena.
Right. Exactly.
And are they going to sell those suites?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I hope so.
Sure.
Okay.
Right. You hope.
If you say so. But also don't tell me, well, now Disney on Ice could be here for 4 days, not 2. Okay. Incredible. How many shows are the Globetrotters doing, guys?
That's right. Yeah.
How many are we getting there? Dude Perfect for 5 nights, huh? Great. Sounds
You'll
great.
You'll be there for that one.
I'll be there for that one. That was actually a good show. Good one. Okay. And
Nicki Minaj coming to D.C. or Virginia.
Meantime, and I'll let Candace start with the beginning of it, which I also found amazing that they started this way. But this is what she just wrote in the Washington Post. The propaganda begins with a piano playing in the background, as propaganda typically does. Then the opening shot, Ted Leonsis in an office flooded by natural light that overlooks the downtown D.C. neighborhood that he's eager to leave high and dry. Then comes the spin, a shameless act of desperation from a sports media empire more bent on winning news conferences than championships. Lately, you may have clicked on Monumental Sports Network preparing to watch the tip-off of a Washington Wizards game. Your mind turned off in an emotional state registering somewhere between comatose and could not care less, which is the only way to take in Wizards basketball these days. But just when you've settled into blissful indifference, here comes Leonsis lording over the streets that lead to the National Portrait Gallery in one of many monumental opportunity commercials. Quote, I love Washington, D.C., Leonsis says, popping onto the screen without warning. And for the next minute of airtime, he does an amazing job of convincing viewers that the only thing he loves more than the district is one of its most cherished commodities, playing political games.
Oh, man. Candace.
These ads air on the Leonsis' own network, agents of Monumental Sports and Entertainment looking off camera as if they're being interviewed and not simply regurgitating cherry-picked talking points while trying to persuade jilted fans in D.C. and prospective neighbors in the Commonwealth of Virginia that the arena that they're trying to build in Potomac Yard is a good, great, wonderful thing for everyone involved. So marvelous, in fact, that the project appears to feature all benefits and no costs.
I mean, it was only a matter of time for this.
Ooh,
it was only a matter of time.
But this is their fault.
Right.
They have been messaging this the wrong way.
Yep. Right, exactly.
Listen, when this first came out, which was a surprise to everybody, first off, he and the governor pulled a fast one because this came what felt like they'd been working on this for 2 years, and it came out of nowhere. And then they did a press conference before they had any deal signed.
I told you, it was the Mission Accomplished banner from George Bush. Way back when. What was that, 2003, 4? When George Bush came out and had the Mission Accomplished banner?
When they did, I was one of the few people on the air who said, I understand why he's doing it.
Yep.
I do. I he hate me for it, but I see the ethical part of it, and I don't want to see DC get hurt either. So that part really, that's a tough one. But I understand where he's coming from, not just for the deal that's been put in front of him, and that he's not, and I'll give him this, he's not moving that far away. Like, come on, like everybody get over that part of it. It's not that far away. And I'm like, and I think DC does own some of the responsibility for this happening. Like, they can't give him what he wants unless it's RFK. Two, which they couldn't do anyway at the time, still kind of can't, at this point. But two, there is issues downtown in Washington, D.C. that need to be rectified. And I don't pretend to know that they're easy things to accomplish, like dealing with the crime and vacancies and closures and all that stuff. But they do need to do something about it, and that is on the city to take responsibility for that. Because Ted is sitting up there going, I'm an anchor here. I bring all these people down here. It's not safe. All these bars and restaurants are closing. There's a lot of reasons why that's all happening. Do something about it. It's not my job to do something about that. Yeah. And, I don't know if sat on their hands is the way to put it or not do something about it, but he has a point.
Sure.
He does. There is some responsibility on Muriel Bowser and the D.C. leadership, for this happening. And that's being fair. That said, he may have done this even in the best of times because the deal is so ridiculous.
That's right. Yeah. Because I was going to say, coming off of COVID, we didn't know how everything was going to bounce back. And we've really only had 2 years of full attendance back when it was only partial after 2020. 2020, there was no one down there. And as you know what happens in the city, it takes time to move some of these things along, too, as well. So, right.
So, listen, you want me to read more of this? Because she doesn't stop. I mean, this goes on.
Give me a couple zingers here, because I feel like Candace is only just getting started here. Ball's just starting to roll here, I feel like.
You could tell she had fun writing this. She rolled up her sleeves. She might even warmed up for this one. She was just. I'm
gonna go. She sent it to our boy Steinberg to edit, and also CC'd Sally Jenkins and said, "Any pointers here?" Because
this is Rocky 3. He's in the forests in Moscow, getting warmed up. It's Rocky 4. Yeah.
Rocky 3 is California.
He's full on. She's full on getting ready for this. You could feel it. You could feel that. You could feel she's been thinking about
Ted
this
and Zach in the car following her in the in Siberia.
She goes on to say this. This is so marvelous, in fact, that the project appears to feature all the benefits and no costs. Millions of spectators the Capital One Arena annually draws will now serve as the catalyst for economic growth in Alexandria, and yet they say this torrent of new visitors will not negatively impact traffic for current residents and businesses. Monumental will pay for this new best-in-class arena with help from the Commonwealth, but they assert there will be no new taxes levied against Virginians. They claim it's a win-win-win. That's 3 more wins than the Wizards recorded in February.
Oh, zing!
Candace said that one. And even DC gets in on this amazing deal because if Monumental has its way, the ghost town, formerly known as Capital One Arena, would be able to welcome Disney on Ice and host more women's sports. Insert exclamation points here.
Oh, man. Candace. Just a full hatchet job. Once again, you and I have talked about this, though. You left yourself open for this when you started to air these. It was only a matter of time before someone took to it.
Oh, yeah.
And started to break it down frame by frame, essentially.
Listen to this one. Ted, his foray into TV evangelism feels like a political ad more than anything else. All that's missing is Leonsis with his sleeves rolled up, laughing on a park bench, holding someone's baby, and surrounded by a racially diverse group of paid actors.
Oh, my goodness. My God.
Now, that might have gone too far. It's a great sentence. Gotta tell you, Candace. A+++.
That is,
win, Candace.
That is.
I can't believe they printed that. Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess the Post doesn't like this idea.
Well, it's an opinion piece. It is an opinion piece.
They still edit those, and there is an editor who goes, Candace, that one might be a little bit too much.
Is it?
No.
She is comparing.
That might be the best sentence she's ever written. All that's missing is Leonsis with his sleeves rolled up, laughing on a park bench, holding someone's baby, and surrounded by racially diverse group of paid actors. Oh, my God.
I mean, that is a political ad, though. That is the visual for a political ad these days.
Let's see. It's Monumental's version of state-controlled media, in which one wealthy man owns way too many professional sports teams in the community, as well as the network that airs their games. So in the face of backlash, he can always buy better facts. Oh, man.
Well, that comes off of also the deleted tweets that are getting some pub.
Because they put some things out there that weren't true.
That's right.
And our guy Eric Flack was on that. Again, this goes back to messaging.
Yep.
It's all in the message.
Yep.
Like, honestly, if they just came out and said, look, like, we're being offered something that is just an incredible opportunity for our organization, and it also will make the game experience better because of X, Y, and Z, whether that part is true or not.
Yeah.
And let's leave out the part that it's also going to cost you $500 to go to one of our games.
That's right.
Let's just leave that part out. And that's all they said and did. And just take the heat, take the heat, take the heat. But just, this is not helping.
Right.
The messaging that they're doing isn't helping, especially when they say things that are laughably preposterous. And I felt this, I said this yesterday. Candace, you're listening to this show. I know you are. It's fine. I love you too. I love your work. We are simpatico. I'd fist bump you on this one because this is an amazing piece that you wrote. I saw these commercials too, and it was my reaction to it. I went, you know, the good news for them is nobody's watching those Wizards games. And the people who are, they honestly don't care.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
you're not even, they're in their own bubble thinking they need to convince the people watching a Wizards Jazz game at 10 o'clock on a Monday that they need to hear this messaging. They don't. It's everybody else that needs to hear this messaging. But they can't play this on USA or Fox 5 or whatever because, well, I guess if they paid them to play it, maybe they would.
Might. Yeah,
but you have to pay them to play this ad.
Right.
And I haven't watched those stations enough lately to know whether are they doing that.
Right, I'm not sure if they are either.
Because, you know, again, to her point, to air it on your, I won't call it state-controlled media, but to air it on your, network with a team that stinks playing a nondescript opponent at 10 o'clock on a Monday, you're talking to junkies who don't give a crap about the politics of all of this or where the games are. They're watching it no matter what. As long as you don't move the team out of the area, they don't care.
They're really paying attention to Kyle Kuzma over under 21.5.
Correct.
That's half your audience right there, probably.
They're very interested. They're more intrigued by the Wizards playing teams close lately, and Lauri Markkanen's out. And it's giving them some feelings about, you know, who knows how that first half over is going to be now. That's all they're thinking about.
Yes, exactly.
Like, when does Poole come off the bench, and what's his first half line? Like, that's all they're thinking. Like, they don't care about this.
Welcome to the only reason I watch the Wizards.
But, like, for people like me who love the teams around here and just happened to tune in that night but saw this commercial, I almost spit out, I got a spit take on it because I, like her, watched this and I went, nope. You are way off here.
Right.
Like, you're acting like I'm stupid.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
Stop acting like I'm stupid. the phones just ring off the hook down here in Monumental Land. Like, everybody wants to put on a show here. We have to turn them down constantly. We don't have enough nights. There's so many shows. You don't need another arena. What are you talking about? Come on. We have 8,000 venues in this area now.
The razor-thin line of him and the former president is right there. We have so many shows, great shows. We're turning shows down.
It is going that way. It is a little bit. It is. It's going that way a little bit. Like, when you start putting out disinformation, when you start saying things
leaving
that
Capital
are...
One Arena is a hoax.
Maybe it is.
We're not leaving.
News. We're not leaving. We never said we were. Fake news. That'd be amazing if they actually turned that way. We never were leaving in the first place. You all made that up.
Are you getting a red hat that says Monumental Opportunity in white writing?
Oh, God. Make Monumental great
No,
again.
I'm not even going that route. I just red hat.
Oh, man. Let's see.
By the way, you still didn't even go on to what my number one PR point should have been. When you went through that long email, remember we spent an hour on it. The email they sent to everybody?
Yeah.
With the whole list of things?
Yeah.
The last point was about the landmass. And I said, why didn't you lead with that?
Just lead with it.
When it had a overlay of, here's what Capital One Arena is. Here's our whole entire thing, what it would look like within the city. And I went, you just had to lead with that. And everyone has to kind of go, it's the one thing the city can't put up.
You can't give them that.
How have they not pivoted to that yet?
Also, like, everybody in the end knows a good deal when they see it. And Virginia's offering them a really good deal. And if they just message the right way and we're just like, we know, like, they don't even have to say this, but just know we're going to take a lot of hits for doing this.
Yeah.
But in the end, if we just tell you what the reasons why we're doing this, everyone will in the end go, fine. We understand why you're doing it. Rich guy gets richer with a really good opportunity. Teams aren't really going anywhere.
Right.
They're still going to be in the Washington area. They're not even that far away from the river. Like, come on. Like don't kid yourself. They didn't move that far away. That's an easy one to bat away and say, come on, we didn't move out of the area. Like, that didn't happen. And then with the traffic stuff, deal with it. Just deal with it. Like, here's what we're going to do. Here's the money we're going to spend to alleviate it. And express genuine concern. Like, of course we need to deal with traffic. We want people to be able to show up to our games. So, and get out and not have a bad experience with that. We saw what happened with FedEx Field when there was bad traffic. It makes people not want to go.
Right.
So we're going to deal with something like that. He goes on to say this. And this, I think, is an important, paragraph. The $4 billion company has every right to state its case and attempt to save the deal, especially if it feels that D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is largely getting a pass for what Monumental officials believe is her irresponsibility in not taking action. By bombarding our screens in an attempt to convert skeptics into believers, however, they only hurt their credibility. I agree. Like, I've said this from the get-go. The D.C. government and its leadership is at fault for some of this.
Everyone's in agreement on that. That no one really looked good, and that it's like...
So let that breathe here a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it is part of the story. Yep. They're not just doing this where times are great in D.C. and you're going, where are you going? Like, this is an incredible emerging neighborhood that you're in. Why would you leave? No, there's a lot of issues that are going on in that part of D.C. and other parts of D.C. So the time here is ripe to allow the politics of that part of it to allow just to play out here. But by doing this and banging us, she's right, by banging us over the head with all these reasons why it's so great for everybody, when everyone knows it's just great for you, stop doing that.
Right.
Stop telling us you're a victim here.
Right.
And stop painting a picture of something that's not true.
I think it all just settles in. I can't believe they haven't pivoted to another PR perspective.
They seem to be doubling down on this.
Which I don't understand.
Which reads to me, and I've said this all along from the get-go, I go, this is a very thin-skinned person. And I mean that not to be critical. It's just his personality.
Just the reality, yeah.
It's just his personality. I don't obviously I don't dislike Ted. I like Ted a lot. I'm like, but it is part of his personality. And when the critics started coming, I went, wait till you see how he responds, because he doesn't like that.
Right.
He doesn't like it.
Correct.
He doesn't go into a bunker and just go, I don't care. It actually affects him. And then he gets mad and he does things about it, like these dumb commercials that they're putting on this network.
Doing the TV hits on every station that'll listen to him. I mean, I told you, the mistake he made was not following the Dan Snyder playbook and just putting his head in the sand and going, deal with it.
The more this keeps getting drummed up, too, the more spooked the politicians are going to get. Yep. That's the other part of it. Like, he needs this to pass.
Correct, yeah.
He doesn't need it to pass with everybody holding hands.
Right.
He just needs it to pass. Stop making everybody stop holding hands. Haven't you learned any lesson yet?
By the way, like Rick Snyder mentioned this yesterday when he was on with you, saying, "Oh well, Ted's gonna look at that RFK site and go, I want a piece of that," and I'm already going, he probably already asked about that. And this is what this is all about.
Yeah.
They're not going to give him a piece of the RFK land because he's got a perfectly fine arena downtown.
Right.
They're not going to do that. They want all the teams here, not give up one for the other ones.
That's right. Let's see. In Candace's piece, quote, "We would not be moving if we didn't think we had the capability to build the very best venue in all of sports across the globe," said Zach Ertz. Okay. And she writes, "But if the project could stand on its own merits as an economic catalyst without saddling the people with new taxes, then why would Monumental need to do all this spin? Probably because the project needs it." In one commercial, Zach Ertz crows about Capital One Arena drawing 3 million fans to downtown D.C. a year. However, the downtown D.C. Business Improvement District's detailed State of Downtown report says the Capital One Arena drew 1.86 million in attendance last year. Moreover, according to the report, Capital One Arena has never drawn 3 million visitors to downtown during Ted Leotis' tenure as owner of both the Wizards and the Capitals. In another video, Monica Dixon, Monumental's chief administrative officer, brags that Virginians will pay no new taxes, with no mention of the tax on ticket sales or the millions the Commonwealth will kick in for transportation, parking, and a concert hall, to say nothing of the risks if revenue do not meet projections. Fudging the numbers might be one thing. Force-feeding the public on the notion that moving the NHL and NBA teams to Virginia is a win for women, however, is offensive.
Agree on that one.
Yes.
Agree on that one.
Yes.
On the
they talked about all the stuff about the Mystic moving there, and I was like making fun of that too. They keep saying like, we think one day maybe we can get 10,000 people there, and I'm like, that's half the arena.
Yeah, right. The one thing I'll push back on that, what was it, 3.1 million is what Monumental was pushing, and she said it was 1.6 actual attendance. Does that include concerts too? Because I would push back.
I guess maybe.
I would push back.
Why don't they said downtown D.C.? Well, maybe. I got to look at that. Maybe.
Because I would believe 1.6 sounds about right for the Caps and the Wizards, but they sell out concerts constantly there. So I would say that might make up the rest of that, but also, I don't know, just 40 concerts make up 1.5 million people. I don't know about that. So.
She ends it this way. As Monumental tries and fails to look like a champion for women and a catalyst for change, the company reveals itself to be tangled in manipulation. With the Monumental Opportunity ad campaign, Leonsis thinks he can reshape public opinion by smiling toward a fake interviewer in a sun-drenched room. But he's proving that even the soothing sounds of a piano can't make fiction sound sincere. I told you this yesterday when I saw it. I'm like, those ads are bad. Like, they're bad.
Right.
Like, they're off the mark. They're bad. It's kind of like, see, everybody's happy. Why aren't you happy? Well, why do you have to convince me if I'm so happy?
You have to use the Brad
terminology. Aren't you happy?
You have to use the Brad terminology. We like Virginia. Everybody loves Virginia.
Even Brad was against it. Remember that one? We played that clip where he's like, Ted, come on, man. DC's team.
Yeah, that was the funny one. That Brad disagreed, but KD did agree. Remember that? KD agreed with it.
Virginia's not going to do this, but the solution all along was move the Capitals there and leave the Wizards downtown.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you've got both arenas, then everybody's happy. The NBA team stays there. If you want to move the Mystics over, you'll have the room to do it. Like, you could still do that. You have both arenas. The Capitals have their own arena, but I don't think Virginia would do that because then all of a sudden you're going...
It's half the revenue, yeah.
Right. We're just bringing one team. No, we're not bringing just one team.
The solution there, too, would have been you could have probably bought an AHL team as well, and then you have two hockey teams playing there. Granted, you're going to black out the top level for the AHL team, but Toronto does the same thing. They have the Maple Leafs, and then they have the Marlies. They're in the same building.
Yeah.
They're in the same building. You could do the same thing here.
I agree. Candace. I
get excited
when I
see her come out with columns now.
Candace.